Welcome to the LA Progressive Podcast. I'm Sharon Kyle, bringing you a deep dive into a story that's shaking California and the rest of the nation. Today, we're examining the power precedent and politics of deploying the National Guard through two lenses: what happened in Los Angeles in 1992 and again in 2025, and what didn't happen on January 6, 2021, as the Capitol came under siege. Let's rewind to 1992. The acquittal of 4 LAPD officers in the brutal beating of Rodney King set off days of unrest, protests, and destruction across Los Angeles. In response, California Governor Pete Wilson and LA Mayor Tom Bradley requested federal assistance. President George H.W. Bush answered that call by invoking the Insurrection Act. On May 1st, 1992, Bush signed Executive Order 12804, invoking the Insurrection Act, which allowed him to override state control. This made it legally possible to federalize the California National Guard under Title 10 of the U.S. Code. Troops, including Army and Marine personnel, were deployed under what became known as Joint Task Force Los Angeles to restore order. But restraint was key. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Colin Powell, deeply opposed the use of lethal force against American civilians. His council shaped the mission. Civil law enforcement took priority, and federal troops were a last resort. Fast forward to 2020, Trump's decision to deploy the Guard came not in response to a request, but in defiance of state and city leadership. The unrest was sparked by aggressive ICE raids and mass detentions, prompting protests across Los Angeles. Governor Gavin Newsom called the deployment purposely inflammatory. Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles insisted the city had the situation under control. Yet Trump, invoking Title 10, federalized the National Guard anyway, citing a need to restore order. Unlike 1992, this action lacked consensus, legal harmony, or moral clarity. It signaled a deepening rift between the federal executive and local autonomy. Now let's turn to a very different moment. Let's turn to January 6, 2021, as the U.S. Capitol was under attack by pro-Trump rioters. One critical question kept emerging: why didn't President Trump deploy the National Guard then? Trump, as commander-in-chief, had the full Title 10 authority. He could have ordered the National Guard or even active duty troops to intervene. He also could have invoked the Insurrection Act, a law that permits the president to deploy troops domestically when law and order breaks down, even without a request from a state, but he didn't. Despite having both Title 10 authority and the option of invoking the Insurrection Act, Trump refused to act. For hours, the Capitol was breached. Lawmakers fled. Police were overwhelmed. It was Vice President Mike Pence and senior military officials, not Trump, who finally helped greenlight the Guard's deployment. So why didn't Trump act? Was it the Posse Comitatus Act, which limits federal troops from domestic law enforcement roles? Was that it? No, that was not the barrier. The law does not apply when the Insurrection Act is invoked. In other words, the Posse Comitatus Act did not stop the president from enforcing the Insurrection Act. What happened on January 6th wasn't about legal limitations. It was a failure of leadership and political will. Where Bush's 1992 deployment was coordinated, measured, and grounded in local leadership, Trump's 2025 move reflects unilateralism and escalation. On January 6, Trump's refusal to deploy the Guard was a deliberate inaction, leaving one branch of government defenseless while a mob stormed its halls. In both cases, Trump exercised or withheld enormous executive power. In 2025, he federalized troops against state objections. In 2021, he withheld help as democracy faced one of its greatest threats. As LA and the nation ask who controls the narrative of peace and power, we must confront an unsettling truth. It's not just about who wears the uniform. It's about who commands it and why. For LA Progressive, I'm Sharon Kyle. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay critical. And if you like this, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can find me at laprogressive.com. Thank you.